All right, I won't bore everybody with that spiel over again, but I will just repeat for anybody who didn't hear, wasn't in here yet. We are hosted today by our friends at DuPage Probation and Court Services. We're glad to be up here with them. We'll be getting into a little bit about what they do, some of the awesome work they're doing, and making sure that we are not finding only punitive solutions for people who are trying to do better. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We've got all kinds of stuff to get to today, so I want to go ahead and be cognizant of the time. Just a couple housekeeping things real quick. If we could make sure anybody on the Zoom side, just make sure you're muted unless it's time for questions or comments. We usually do leave time for that sort of thing. So make sure you're muted, cut down on those interruptions. Secondly, like I said, you could put your name and contact info into the chat. That helps us to take attendance, which we then submit to the states so they can say, hey, you're meeting all of these needs and hitting all these different sectors that a ROS should be hitting. So that said, I'm going to share my screen and go over a few things for today. Bear with me. We're getting there. Okay, we're there. Let's talk about today's agenda. The bad joke I make every time this meeting is we're right about here, right after meeting open. Again, if we could make sure everybody's muted, that'd be great. After that, just a couple of housekeeping things. We've got some stuff to promote, so we'll kind of get through some of those upcoming meetings, events, things like that. Our friends and colleagues from AMPACT Recovery Corps, Kelsey, but also our outreach specialist, Alex, who came on recently, is going to come up and talk to us about all kinds of stuff they've been doing with the mobile outreach portion of what we do, which is actually quite a bit. So I'm happy to be able to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk to Bernadine McFarland, the director of services here over at the Problem Solving Courts and Probation. We'll be talking to her shortly. I'm going to do a very, very brief preview of next week's vape shop report. Now, if you've attended one of these before, you maybe have seen one of our presentations on vape shops. I'll just give you a quick background. The reason we started doing that is because nobody else was doing it. And what we were finding is that some of these things that were being sold at vape shops, everything from Delta 8s and 9s all the way up to Kratums, and now the 70H or 70, which is kind of wreaking havoc right now. So there's good reason that we're going in there and talking not only to the proprietors of the vape shops to learn more about what it is that they're selling, but also to see the trends. And there's actually been quite a few different trends this year that could be looked at as pretty dangerous, but we'll kind of preview a little bit of that coming up. Speaking of which, 70 DEA did put out a bulletin talking about scheduling it, and we may talk a little bit about that. I'd like to go over some of the stuff in that bulletin and how that may affect some of the harm reduction work and outreach work that we're doing over the coming year. I'm going to give a few minutes to our buddy Scott Coppin from the DuPage County Health Department. They have got a community survey and some other things happening that could use some support. And then, of course, at the end, any organizational updates. That's when you guys update us on what all is going on at your program. So if there's any needs, collaborations, that's where we kind of go over some of that stuff. So out of the way, just a quick primer. If you've never heard of ROS before, and I'm guessing some of you haven't, there's a lot of acronyms in this field. Sometimes it's like, how do I keep up? ROSC is Recovery Oriented System of Care. All that means is there is a group of us, not only organizations that work along the recovery continuum and substance use and mental health, but also people with lived experience. So people in recovery themselves, their friends, their families, people who have been touched by the disease of addiction. Does not have to be just someone who's in recovery themselves. So that coordinated group of us, we try to identify what the strengths of our community are, but also what are the gaps in services. So we've been doing this since the summer of 2021. We've been fortunate enough to partner with quite a few of you, and some of you who are actually here in this room right now, at hoping to meet some of those needs. So we'll talk more about that across the course of this meeting and the course of this year. And it actually brings me to, we'll kind of do a shorter one maybe, but we usually do an icebreaker question. And this one maybe is to like spur a little bit of discussion. I do have the Price is Right second microphone to go around if need be. But talking about needs and talking about strengths, I think it's good that we always are taking stock of what we're doing in our community. one strength, because I like to start with the positives. We have done, and I say we, so much headway and really amazing work as it relates to the harm reduction sphere. When we came out here, Scott and DuPage Narcan program and other partners were doing really, really good work. But we were able to partner with them. And through that, Scott will come up later. He's got one of our really cool new countertop Narcan distributors. But man, we had people open to hanging Narcan boxes on the wall and putting vending machines in. And that was only through kind of like the legwork of the outreach of groups like this. And if there's one thing that I think we could do better at, is something that I hope we can focus on through this ROSC, is workforce development. I hear a lot about people in early recovery, some of who in that Venn diagram are people who are re-entering from being justice involved, who have anxiety about work. But I also talk to local employers who are looking for steady employment pool. So I think there's a natural fit there, and I'd really like to make that connection over the course of the next year. So that was my thought. Anyone here have anything? Scott Kaufman, Annette, you could bring that microphone around.
Hey, everybody. I'm only going to speak for our work over at the health department, but I would say that we've done a really good job of getting the word out about the harms of opioids, ways to address that with stuff like naloxone and Narcan, fentanyl test strips to make sure that if you are using that what you're using is what you think that it is. But I think that something that we could really do a lot better on is the risks of and really what you can do for other classes of substances. We've been really tunnel vision on opioids just because they have driven a lot of overdoses. Makes sense to focus on them. Also, they have a very convenient and easy reversal medication in naloxone. But I mean, they are not taking up 80%, 75% of
Yeah.
overdoses. And so it's time to start spreading the focus and making sure that other substances and other classes are given the appropriate attention.
That's great. And I will say, by the way, due to some of our friends in Kane County, we actually do have medetomidine test strips. So if you or anyone you know could use them, you could just walk outside with us after this meeting, and I can help you out with that. If you're unfamiliar, medetomidine is an animal tranquilizer that is sort of, I would say, almost like taking the place of xylazine, of what we thought xylazine was going to be in drug supply. So we do have those if you need them. Just let us know. I do see our wonderful friend and coroner of DuPage County, Judith Lucas. Judy?
Yep, thank you. Yeah, Jared, when you were talking about the question, the screen froze. So
Oh, okay.
I really don't know what the question was, but I just wanted to add something. It's a little we have to turn in our budget, for next year, which is just what I was going through. Scott is aware of a lot of the problems that we have in our office with data mining, and we're changing some of our programs, and we think we have something fixed, and it's not. But what I have proposed in my new budget, and I haven't talked to the county about this yet, and I'm hoping it's not going to be a major, expense, but I think it's something that we can cover in our office. But right now, when I'm providing informations like of fatal overdoses, et cetera, we're only giving it by zip code, and that does not show an accurate position because, well, you look at something like Downers Grove, look how big that is, right? So, or Naperville is even bigger. So when you see Naperville, where in Naperville is something happening? I
Yeah.
live in Winfield, but I have a West Chicago zip code. So if you would look at my street address, it looks like that I may have expired in West Chicago, and I really didn't. I expired in Winfield. So what I want to do to help identify clusters, because we were talking about like where to put Narcan boxes, is I want to get a GIS with every single death that happens in the county. So
Right.
this way, now we can identify, of course, these are just going to be fatal overdoses, but then we're going to be able to identify where a fatality happened, whether it was an overdose, whether it was from suicide, etc. It could be traffic patterns. Where do we have more? And I understand a lot of these are tracked in other ways, but
Sure.
this is one of my. While I thought data mining would go a little bit smoother, this is one of the corrections I'm trying to do, and it's one of the additions. And like I said, it's a little premature because I have it in my fiscal budget that would start in December, but this is one of the goals that I'm working on, the tool that I hope to share to be able to help people. So I only heard Scott talk about the dispensers. So like I said, I didn't hear
Sure.
your question. I don't know
It's
if
okay.
this answered your
All
question, but that's my part that I'm adding to the discussion.
It does. Thank you, Judy. So I'm sorry about that. If we froze, the question was just as we kind of go into the new year, because July is usually when Ross kind of starts its new fiscal year with the grants and everything. So I said I would love if I could hear like maybe what someone thinks is like a major challenge or goal we could try and meet in the next couple of years, or if you want to talk about something that we've started to do really well over the course of the past couple of years. So either maybe like a challenge or a strength or both if you have something in mind. So that was a question. Sorry if I froze. Actually, what you said kind of fit. So that was a good reply. Was there anybody else like in person that had anything? I do have the second mic to float around if need be. Is there a hand up? We'll just make sure that blue light's on. Perfect.
I'm ready. We're a program. Can you hear me? We're a program that you have to be sober.
Yeah.
You have to be sober. So, but we do have things in place. Of course, we have Narcan all over the place, but most of our clients, if they need to be, MAT is
Yeah.
a really big thing. We have a lot of monthly shot, Vivitrol or whatever. But if you can't stay, you don't get kicked out if you mess up or something, but you have to stay sober.
Yeah.
And we also offer groups.
Yeah.
And so a lot of addiction groups. Our program is trauma-based,
Yeah.
actually. So it's trauma and addiction. And they go hand in hand.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, they do.
They go hand in hand.
Yes.
And, if you didn't have any trauma, you do now if you have an addiction, so it really goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
But a strength would be that you have to stay sober, you know. And so I'm not saying there's pressure and people relapse. They just do. They don't get kicked out, but then they get additional help.
Support and help. Yeah.
That's right. So
Yeah.
maybe they have to go into an IOP or
Sure.
something.
Yeah.
But that's what we call a response plan. If you don't want to do that, well,
Yeah.
then it's a different conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Why don't we do this? We'll maybe at the end leave a little bit more time for other stuff. I want to make sure we bring Bernadine up and be cognizant of everybody's time. So if you want to come up, Bernadine, we'll go ahead. I'm going to stop this share and then I'll pull up the PowerPoint. And then if you want to bring that mic over, Annette, that'd be awesome. All right, so I'm stopping this share, but I'm going to reshare.
But it's really cool in the hallway. You guys want to move back. I want the air, right?
All right, let me start from the beginning and we'll see. Okay, so people on the Zoom side, can you give me a thumbs up if you're able to see this slide presentation? We got a thumbs up. All right, so Bernadine, thank you so much for being here with us. As we said, you were the program director for the Problem Solving Courts. And as I was saying at the beginning, I haven't seen you in a couple of years, but you were somebody when I walked in and Kathy said you're going to be here. I was like, oh, it's been quite a while. So I'm glad we were able to connect. And we're glad to be here so you can kind of talk a little bit about problem solving court programs and all the stuff you guys are doing for people.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for having
You
me.
just tell me when to move this forward and I got you.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Sorry that I'm kind of off the screen for Zoom people. So yeah, I tried to do an abbreviated sort of program overview for our three problem solving courts here in DuPage County. We do have our drug court program, our mental health court program that we call MyCap, and our veterans court program. So I have our three judges listed here on our first slide. And then if you want to go to the next slide, just to kind of do an overview of the problem solving court model. So for anyone that is not completely aware of what this treatment court model is, essentially, we are serving treatment instead of what historically these participants would be essentially going to Department of Corrections. So essentially, all of the participants are brought into these treatment courts in order to get any kind of treatment need that they are seeking. So specifically for veterans, it could be a substance use treatment or mental health. For mental health court, obviously the primary treatment need is mental health, but they also could have a co-occurring disorder of substance use. And then for drug court, their primary treatment need would be a substance use disorder, but also could have a co-occurring mental health disorder as well. So they're assessed based on those things, and having a diagnosis, and then the primary treatment is what they're seeking and then that's what the treatment court is providing instead of sending them to DOC, which is more obviously punitive instead of treatment based. So essentially, that's what the model is serving, and it's a nationwide model that we have here in DuPage. So our target population is our high risk, high need population. So that is primarily participants that have maybe been to prison multiple times, failed out of treatment multiple times. So those kinds of participants that really are in need of treatment, and for sure are on a really trajectory that have nonviolent offenses, though. So that is something that is statutorily on a basis where we have a statute that we go by in Illinois that governs which offenses specifically are violent or not. So that is something that treatment providers ask a lot of times in terms of specific offenses. So we can definitely let people know in a treatment sense, when you're letting people into your facility, what offenses our participants have, but it's generally not a violent offense because it's statutorily we cannot accept those.
And there's always, like, especially in like when it's Serenity House, we do housing, there's always going to be those charges where as much as we would like to house people for safety purposes and other things, we just can't accept it, right?
Right. And for the most part, sex offenses we don't typically accept because they would typically need sex offender probation. So as a general rule, it's not a exclusionary offense, but in general, they typically would need sex offender probation. So it's not a black and white situation, but in general, we typically don't have sex offenders in our treatment courts. So, and then this is just an overview of what our treatment teams look like. So these are all of the members that are on our treatment teams, and for Veterans Court, there's specifically a mentor coordinator. And we do have a recovery coach coordinator that attends all of our staffings. And we specifically have recovery coaches that are through Serenity House specifically as well. So just to give them a plug. So,
and I'm not doing a self plug here, but I'm just curious. Have you found that with because quite a few of us in here are peers. I'm looking at famous peer support, Mark Matthews right in front of me. But have you found that like adding that component to these programs has helped the success rate of maybe some people who maybe had trouble connecting like with a counselor, but maybe they have peer support now and able to maybe do a little bit better?
I would say it's definitely been an added bonus for sure. And I think it's a missing link a lot of times when we're trying to figure out what's the missing link, like what's going on with this particular person or participant that they're just not getting it, or something's just not clicking with this person. And oftentimes, one of us will say, do they have a recovery coach yet? Because there's a particular point in the program, and we'll get to kind of the phases where, in phase one, it's a little too early to kind of connect them with a recovery coach because they're not even sober yet. You know, they're not even in treatment yet. So it's usually around phase 2 that we would be referring them to a recovery coach. So sometimes maybe they're not connected yet. And so that's often the missing link, where they need that kind of constant or someone, or they don't have a support system. And so sometimes having that recovery coach often is a huge piece for some of our participants that don't have a strong support system. So absolutely.
That's great. I love that.
And this is just an overview of what our staffings look like. So for part of this program and the model, we staff all of the cases every week prior to court. So that whole team that was on the last slide comes together. We actually just had staffing right before this. So so for all 3 programs, we have court every single week. And again, staffing is the day before. So all of those team members staff every single case, and the recovery coordinator, coach coordinator is part of that team. The mentor coordinator is part of the veterans court team as well. And we staff all the cases. So the judge is aware, everyone on the team is aware what's happening with each participant. And then in court, the judge talks to each participant. It's very different than a normal courtroom. It's non-adversarial. If you were ever able to come and watch court anytime, court is public, so you're able to come and watch. But it's definitely, you even hear participants share even at graduations or just in general sometimes how they're blown away and surprised at how different these courtrooms are versus the typical courtroom, just because it's so non-adversarial, and they actually develop a relationship with the judge and the POs and everyone on the team. So that is huge in terms of the difference between this model and the regular court system.
And I would say too, like if you've not had a chance to attend a graduation, or even like if you've got a client, like just to show up to support them, it goes so long. It goes a really long way. Like we've seen people turn their lives around in these court programs, and just like the fact that people show up for them is a really big deal, especially for people who maybe didn't have anyone showing up for them prior to this.
Exactly.
So I mean, that's such a huge thing. So so we talked about these. Do you want me to skip over?
You can kind of skip through. This is just
look at
some
this.
kind of numbers. So for drug court, since the program inception, we've had 512 graduates through our program. So yes, so kudos to that. And then just our current participants. So drug court, we have a 5-phase program. It's 2 years because all of those are felonies through that program. And we have 62 participants currently. And then I think MyCap is next for the numbers, 900 graduates for MyCap. MyCap is a larger program because we have felonies and misdemeanors that we accept. So MyCap, there's a 4-phase program, and it's 1 to 2 years because misdemeanors are only 1 year and felonies are 2 years. We currently have 75 participants, and then 63 graduates for Veterans Court.
That's amazing too. Wow.
And that's a smaller program, obviously, because it's so obviously such a small population, or you know, it's very specific population, I guess. And then we also accept misdemeanors for veterans as well. So we currently have 14 veterans in that program. And then this is just kind of some goals that we have for our programs, which all of you could be a part of in terms of partnerships and things like that. And working with some of you in different community-based agencies.
I have a quick question about one of these. So,
Sure.
So COD apprenticeship programs, are they able to set up apprenticeships through College of DuPage then?
Yes. So we had a pre-apprenticeship program that we ran in March of this year, where we had 4 participants actually from one of at least from each of the programs. I guess one of them must have had 2, and they went through this program. They got an OSHA certificate for food handling and a forklift for certificate, I believe, and then they were able to get connected with employers and things like that. So they kind of did this whole and a resume writing workshop, and it was this whole program that COD actually developed for us. So we hope to recreate that and offer it again in the fall.
I love that. So I said this before we started the meeting, which is, whenever we go out and meet with justice involved clients, like either thought number one or thought number two is, what am I going to do for work? There's a lot of anxiety around their record. There's a lot of anxiety around work history, not looking great. A couple of them have told me they never even worked a quote unquote legit job in their life.
Right.
So stuff like that is huge.
Yeah,
in a way a lot of people don't
absolutely.
even know. Any other goals you want to talk about or things? I know we could also show some great photos here.
Yes.
Talk about the photos.
Yes. So this bottom left is our drug court, part of our drug court team. The top one is a MyCap graduation. And then the bottom right is a Veterans Court graduation.
Amazing. Amazing. This is such a great turnout at these too. Like this is a great looking group.
Yes.
Graduation's
and then
coming up.
These are some upcoming graduations. So if anyone is available to attend, they're all usually at noon because that's when other judges are available to come and things like that. So we try to make them at noon all the time. You're available or you're able to attend on Zoom. So if anyone is able to kind of just hop on Zoom, you're welcome to kind of come at any portion, or even if you're just able to join just shortly. So yeah, feel free to join us for any of those dates.
Well, I want to be cognizant of time. If anybody has any quick questions or anything, or comments about Bernadine's amazing. Yeah, she could pass the mic too. Here comes Annette. She's got a question.
No, I don't have a question, but I'm like, I'll move.
Oh, you want to move the mic? Okay.
Actually, I have a comment. Being a person who was justice involved many, many years ago, right? And was, involved with the court system. And have been able to sit now and, in diversion courts. I can see the big difference. And I feel like, just in my own personal view, if we would have had that 20 years ago, I probably would have never, been a recidivist. So you guys are doing amazing work.
Thanks, Annette. Why don't we give her a round of applause for Bernadine? Amazing. Thank you so much. And Kathy?
I coordinate all the providers that are linked to our problem-solving courts. So
nice.
If you have questions or are interested, we have very specific guidelines, but if you're interested, just reach out to me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for being such gracious hosts. What a great space. We love it. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to stop my share again. And then I'm going to reshare in a second. Hang on. All right, I think where we're going to go next is talking about a couple of things coming up. I mentioned this early on, for those of you who maybe were still filing in. A week from today at 10 a.m., we do every year or so, we do a report on what is being sold at vape shops in your area. So all the stuff that's in the quote unquote gray market, the gray market legalese around being able to buy stuff, but not only that, what is included in these substances and what's causing havoc. There's a lot of photos. We're going to do a preview of that coming up. I've got a few previews to show y'all. My team goes out into the shops, takes photos of stuff, interviews shop people. It's really, really interesting. If you've never seen it, it's only on Zoom next Wednesday. Everyone's welcome. All right, next up, Kelsey, come on up. I'm going to have her. What's that? Oh, what happened? All right, hang on a second. Let me get rid of that. Or that. Let's see if that helps at all. It's still shown, huh? All right. Well, we're having some technical difficulties here. We'll try to work our way around it. But for the people on the Zoom side, it'll be a little bit easier. All right. So, Kelsey, let's talk to you for a second. Kelsey, if you've been coming to our meetings for like the past year, Kelsey came to us also with our colleague Nini through Impact Recovery Corps. I do want to mention that briefly. If you or your organization is looking for peer support help, either in a project navigation capacity, or even just like more in like a peer support navigation capacity. Impact does a really good job of finding, what do we call them? Service terms, right?
Yeah, service terms, host sites. So I'm serving at a Serenity House in Addison. I'm a project coordinator. And when I came to Serenity House in January, I was working on projects and outreach in the DuPage and Kane County community, specifically collecting different men and women clothing items, toiletries.
I'll talk about that for a second. The whole impetus for this was Serenity House had gotten through some grants and partnerships a mobile outreach unit, which is a nice retrofitted van that we took the insides out of and put some cool stuff in. And so we go out with different partners, both in DuPage and Kane County, to distribute clothes, toiletries, harm reduction materials, and services to people who are actually still living unhoused. So I'll tell us, I say this a lot. Sometimes I feel like we work at a Goodwill. I mean that in a good way. Like we get so many donations, right?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't it feel like every day we're
We're
kind
up.
of we're up. Look
We're
at
up.
that. So talk about
Well,
that every day. Like it is
every day I come into work and there's just bags and bags and bags of donations. There's so many bags that there's no more room for any of the bags.
we have been like moved out of our own closet because of the amount of donations, which is a good problem to have. I shouldn't say it
Great
like that.
problem. We're very fortunate, very lucky. And as always, we are accepting anybody who would like to donate any items.
I'd say specifically right now, we're looking at summer related stuff. So
Yeah.
the think about all the things someone living unhoused in the summer could use. There's a lot of like hygiene related stuff.
Body wipes.
Yeah, body wipes. If you got body wipes, we'll take them. Yeah, but also like shorts, socks, underwear, new, not used.
Yeah.
And yeah. And what else? Men's clothing too. The I guess like the percentages of folks who identify as male who are unhoused versus female skews more male, at least in the areas we're going out to.
Yeah.
And we go through so many clothes. So if the man in your life is looking to shed some stuff out of his closet, we will take it. Or if you want to get rid of his stuff, you can bring it to us. But here's how you can donate, right? You can reach out to Alex or the ROSC intern, which there's a few people checking that one.
Yes.
But
Yes.
one way or another, we will get that.
Yeah.
Alex is another. Alex, I'm gonna have you come up next because I want to chat with you for a
Thanks,
second.
everyone.
Yeah, thank you. And you'll be back when? September?
September.
She has to go away for a month, but she'll be back. So Alex also does a lot of outreach. She is out in the community doing a lot. So what's been going on? You've been doing similar outreach, right?
Yes, going out with the outreach van. We go to Aurora on Wednesdays, and we go to Elgin on Thursdays, and we are always trying to find more spots to go to on Fridays. Right now we're in the Addison area,
In
Villa
Wayne
Park,
Township.
yeah, Wayne Township, but we're always trying to find like more areas that are hot spots for people who would go if they are unhoused.
Yeah. And we can also help, like if you know people in the community that you come across that like they need like quick services or need to get in somewhere, we can also take those referrals pretty easily. So anything in your, like, I think we mentioned the stuff that we really need. Was there any other needs right now when we're out there? Oh, we could talk about food for a second. Okay.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about food for a second. So there's one day a week that van goes out, and I've talked about this before because it's a really fun day. If you ever want to come out and check it out, on Sundays they take it to it's technically Aurora Animal Control, but it's right next to a big dog park. So first of all, there's dogs running around. It's a great environment. And we take the van out. That was the one day a week that we actually cook. So we bring food out for the people who are living in the tent cities along the river in Aurora. And we have a great time with them. They come, they get a meal, they can get some clothing, they can get some toiletries, and they can have just like a safe environment where they're not necessarily having to be indoors getting services in a line somewhere. You know, we're actually literally meeting them where they're at. So if you want to get involved, we actually do have a volunteer cooking rotation. I can talk to you about that, but it really, really is valued. And the folks who are out there in the tents tell us that every time we're out there. That they sometimes feel forgotten about. They tell us a lot that, you know, police will kick them out. They have their tents bulldozed. You know, there's a lot of anti-unhoused stuff going on these days, so I don't have to tell you that. So to be able to go out and just treat them like humans goes a long way. So if you're ever interested, we're out there every Sunday from, I think it's, where are you out there now? Around 12? It's like 12 to 2-ish or 3. So, and there's dogs. I mean, we
Donations,
take donations for dogs too.
donations for like non-perishable foods as well. So canned goods,
Yep.
box pasta, things like that, where we can use it for whatever would also work for donations too.
Yeah. So absolutely. So yeah, if you would like to get involved and donate stuff, there's tons of ways to do it. So yeah, we'll be on the lookout for that. Thanks, Alex. Great to see you.
Libraries, like particularly in the winter.
So yes, so the question was, do we go to libraries? Yes, I love that question because we love going to do outreach to libraries. So we actually have some Narcan boxes in a few libraries. So we have one in Wheaton, we have one in Glen Ellen and Villa Park. Itasca, Villa Park. So we actually do go out and like at least provide harm reduction materials there, but we also like in Glen Ellen will collect for their community pantry, like community closet. And yes, as a former unhoused person, I spent a lot of time in libraries. So I know exactly that plight. So we always try to be cognizant of that. On Wednesdays, right? They go to the Aurora Public Library.
We're also looking for places that are willing to host a donation box. And that is literally just a box that sits there. We'll come, anyone can come, drop off clothing items, hygiene items, anything like that. We take care of it all. We're looking for more places for any organizations that are willing to host that.
Well, yeah, and in fact, I think what we're going to do, and we'll talk about this maybe towards the end, is this year we're going to be doing some subcommittee type things. So, like, I know Kathy and I talked about, okay, so this is last year, we talked about a gap, a severe gap out here is when people are trying to access, let's say, residential treatment somewhere, but they have a dog and that dog is everything to them and that dog is their family member. Who wants to try and give their dog up for 28 days or even longer without really a plan? That's like giving up a family member. And so what happens to those people? And so we had a conversation about it once, and I think we might have a subcommittee where we talk about some of that. Like at least talk about maybe some fostering situations. So there's solutions to this stuff. It's just we'll kind of get into it in some of those subcommittees this year. So yeah. So thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. Miss Annette, come on down. You're the next contestant. All right, let's talk about your next meeting, which is coming up next week. We're in beautiful Ware.
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for coming. We are going to be at the Kane County, we are going to be at the Messenger Public Library of North Aurora. And that is going to be July the 16th from 3 to 4 p.m. Next Thursday.
You can join on Zoom too. These are always hybrids, so if you can't come out in person, you can join us over there. Let's talk about the drop-in.
Drop-ins on Tuesdays. Again, on Tuesdays, we have a satellite office at 825 West State Street. And our community organizations are out there doing free harm reduction. They have free harm reduction materials, but they're also out there every other Tuesday.
Well, didn't we talk about like HIV testing and stuff too this year?
Yes. This year we will be, we've partnered with Greater Family Health and their department with one of their coworkers there, Leo, and he will be joining us soon and providing those services.
Yeah, we'll put out a flyer about that one, but we're looking to partner more out there. So if you're out in Kane or even in DuPage and you want to kind of get out and come visit them, and it's truly like a living room type drop-in center.
It is. People just come in. Sometimes they just sit down. We just have conversations. There's conversations going on, and sometimes they come. We have a small little there's a small little closet there. People need some donations. There's donations there, but yeah, just drop in whenever you feel.
I'm going to skip this one for a second, but I want to talk about the reentry since that seems to be one of the themes today is talking about, support for our justice involved people. I'll let you do the details, but I'll just kind of give the background on this one. Similarly, we were talking to people who were justice involved and they felt like they wanted a support group that wasn't specific to like 12-step, or they wanted to go and meet people, but it wasn't just smart recovery. And so we said, well, what about just giving them a safe place where they could come with other justice involved people and just talk about what it's like being out, talk about what those needs are and some of those things. So what do you guys meet as far as those needs go?
So On Tuesdays as well, from 12 to 2, we also have some of this reentry fellowship. It is for women and for men, and other services are provided in dual languages, I'm sorry. And so on those days, it's from 12 to 2, but there's also services from 5 to 7 p.m. And that is with my coworker, Walter. And the reentry fellowship is exactly what Jared was kind of saying, right? It's helping someone who has been justice involved come in, sit down, talk about their concerns. We can answer some questions, but we also help them and guide them through resume working, finding support groups, looking for employment. Again, like I said, we have a small donation closet there. We even have, thank you, Mark Matthews here. We have some clothing for them if they're going to go on an interview. We do mock interviews, and we help them retain like all the documentation that they would need.
That's a huge one too, is any of us who work in the early recovery phase, IDs. They don't tell you that going into the job, but then you get in the job, you're like, I help more people get IDs in this field than almost anything else. But it's the truth. But if you've never had ID and then you have to get ID, it's an ordeal, man. Especially if you are coming out, you don't have any money, you don't really have stable housing. You're now living under supervision, sometimes for the first time. You know, there's a lot of different, I guess, unique
Aspects to it. Yes, there is.
challenges.
I mean, you're talking about IDs, but sometimes, an individual has never opened a bank account.
That's another one.
They don't know, they have no financial literacy. Like they have no idea how much they're going to save, what they're going to save. They don't even know what the cost is out here nowadays, like for an apartment.
Okay,
So
yeah.
all those type of, just sitting down and having those conversations and bringing that wisdom to that person, I feel like helps them feel more secure in their journey and lets them open up, and we can really, help them be successful.
I got a question. Is there any success stories from your work over the past year that you would like to point out? Any client that's done really well or anything you're proud of? And this is the first year that Kane Ross was existing, by the way, guys. So she's at the end of her first year. I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah,
give
you
us
are.
give us a positive.
There's so many positives. I mean, I
Give
can't
us a negative. No, I'm just kidding.
stop. There's never any negatives except for like we're always
There's
growing,
challenges,
right?
right?
There's always challenges and barriers, just like the one Jared talked about, like people who are unsheltered that have animals, and do want to recover, but don't want to leave, those animals, don't want to give those important family members up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So Annette's gonna foster. Yeah.
If I have to, but I already have 3, but I'll try my best. But yeah, so another success I would say is just how we've grown this year and how many, collaborations and partnerships we've made in that community, and how we've gotten the word out, and how everyone has showed up, to the meetings, but just showed up and supported us. So I feel like all of those are big wins.
Amen. All right, everybody give it up for Annette, everybody. All right. So, for the next few minutes, I do want to touch on everyone's favorite substance of the week, 7-OH or 7-O. If you maybe did not see, the DEA is moving to temporarily schedule it. So there were some people with questions about this. So I just kind of wanted to briefly talk about it. So if you're unfamiliar, 7-OH or 7-O is not necessarily new, but its popularity has increased over about the past year and a half. You may see it sold, and I'm going to show you some photos here in a little bit, as a kratom product or an all-natural product. That is very, very misleading. It is a kratom product in that it shares one tiny alkaloid with the kratom plant. Everything else in the capsule, pill, whatever form it is usually synthetic, and it's like souped up synthetic. So this is why we're finding 7-O in packages, especially that have this like really, really strong strengths. It'll say stuff like, in a vacuum, like 10 times more potent than morphine. Yes, but no. You know what I mean? Like, yes, in theory, it could be. That's not what they're selling. But we'll talk about this further. So it's mostly synthetic. So when you see people say it's all natural, it's not true. It's very, very misleading. So their notice of intent was to schedule this, much like Schedule 1 is like the hardcore stuff, right? So it's like the heroines, the cocaines, all those. They would move to schedule it into that area. Those are usually, if they're not illicit, prescribed substances. So I don't even know how they're going to prescribe some of this. I think the point is they just want to get it off of the market. The problem is, and we were researching this, manufacturers, they move to patent different chemical compounds. So if the DEA is like, hey, we're just going to outlaw this one compound, they're all ready to move on to the next compound, change the name slightly, and continue selling that stuff. So this is how stuff works when the DEA tries to schedule it, at least with some of these vape shop products. We saw it happen with some of the Deltas too. But this is what this all means. They're just trying to schedule it. So I'm going to stop this for a second because I do want to get the photos from some of this vape shop stuff that we've been doing. I'm not going to do the whole thing. Like I said, we've got a big long one for you guys next Wednesday, but I do think it's helpful just to show some of these photos. So give me 1 second here. All right, I'm going to get rid of this one, and then we're going to look at this one. Okay. So just real quick, I will go over just like this photo right here. I like to add this in just so people can see the different types of delivery methods they have for 7OH, everything from capsules to pills to little shots to what was some of the crazier ones we saw? Oh, these are like candy. It's like little ice cream cone looking things. So a lot of different forms. What is it? Like I said, it is an alkaloid that's found in kratom plants. Kratom by itself isn't necessarily dangerous. Kratom's actually related to the coffee plant in some ways, so it's not too dissimilar from that. This is marketed as all natural or a kratom product, despite only containing that trace amount. Growing number of different types and ways it's being sold. That's what I really want to hammer home is that it is a was it seller's market, I guess what they call that. If you walk into a vape shop and you see the huge range of 7OH and 7OH's cousin called pseudoindoxyl, these sections have huge real estate in these shops. But important to know what it is. Like I said, has a high potency, potentially greater than morphine, but it's rarely sold like that. It does have a very, very similar effect to opioids in the brain. It's going to latch on to that mu opioid receptor. It is a like a partial agonist, so it can be ripped off with Narcan. But the problem is 7OH is not causing overdoses on its own. The problem is it's getting like combined with polypharma. So let's say somebody's taking their 7OH for the day, but then later in the day they decide they want to take a little bit of cocaine. Well, now you have two things in your system to exacerbate symptoms, but we're not seeing just a straight 7OH overdose situation. But there is a high risk of dependence. We talk to people anecdotally that within a few days can get a physical dependence, like 4 or 5 days of taking it, which is pretty scary when you think about that. Feel free is another one. How many of y'all have seen this stuff? I say just look down on the ground when you're walking around sometime. You'll see these little blue bottles. It is a form of 7OH. One is actually combined with the substance kava, which by itself, again, isn't really super dangerous, but people are not taking these as directed. I mean, like, these are silly because they'll say like 3 doses in each bottle. You know, people using this stuff are taking multiple bottles, and that's really where the issue is at this point. So a couple of photos before we get into some of the more updated stuff. I kept these on here because this was from last year to start. So I'm going to kind of show you the baseline. Now this is kind of 7.0 stuff in both of these photos. All the photos from these were from shops in DuPage County. So I think we did a bunch around Addison Lombard. We did some in Wheaton, out to West Chicago, even up on the north end of the county. But you can kind of see right here, you know, a lot of stuff. And then you may not be able to see it. The marketing is incredibly cynical. They name the stuff like Perks, Opia, Dopium, I saw the other day. Like all of them have these names that are basically sound like opioid, right? So this is the way it's being marketed. We're also seeing vapes. When I first saw the first 7.0 vape, I was like, this is, here we go. You know, like it couldn't just be the pills. Now we have to have like a way to smoke it. These are kind of updated. Okay. These are for some of the new ones. I want to show you, look at the colors here, right? And then look at the colors here. Now, if you're a young person, what do you, sensory overload, right? Like this looks like you're walking into a candy shop, basically. And all of these right here are all just the tablet form of 7-OH, okay? So as you can see, that is a large space on a retail wall just to sell one particular item. Not only is it on the wall, it's also in the glass front cases. So you're literally getting hit on all sides by some of this marketing. Here's some other ones. I also want to point out right here. This is called Roxy. You know, like Roxaset is a really popular opioid. Over here, OHM, like everything's just like slightly off from sounding like opioid or opiates, which is a very, very scary thing. Over here, Eat Ohms, Opia right here. You also see like extra strength 7-O. It's like, could we not just leave well enough alone? Just a quick, so you can guess, we could do the Price is Right rules in here. How much do you think a pack of like 4 of 7-OH tablets cost? We could do this, we could do the Price is Right rules, try to guess without going over. So let's say a pack of 4. How much do you think that guys costs? Anyone?
15.
You win because you're the only guess. Oh wait, what do you got? She wins. It varies, but usually around $40 to $50. And when we talk to the proprietors, they do say that people come back multiple times in the same day. So repeat customers buying the same stuff. Now, it's a brand new world out there. I'm giving you a very brief preview of some newer things that have shown up that are kind of like, okay, wow. This is called metacetacaps. All I can get from this is it sort of mimics ketamine in its own weird way. If you can imagine something at a smoke shop that mimics ketamine. You've also right here, I talked about shrooms, right? You see right here? Shrooms gummies. Those have that amida muscaria. It's not psilocybin. And so in high doses, amida muscaria can cause hallucinations, mania. It's not fun. So a kid who takes an entire package of that is not setting himself up for a fun night. That's what I'll say. And then over here, you see stuff like OR Reset. Like they're selling the cure for taking all this stuff. Like, do you have to flush your system out? Like there's all kinds of new ways that they're selling to like flush this stuff out of your system. So again, this is just this very, very small portion of what we're going to be talking about next Wednesday. So I hope you all can come back to that one because it really has been eye-opening as far as like what's out there right now. So any questions or comments about that before we get into kind of like the last bit of the meeting? Anyone seeing this out in the world when they're going out to places? Are you seeing this stuff being sold and marketed maybe even more than it was a few months ago? You get the mic over to our friend Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I would say obviously we spoke that morning, crack of dawn when it was announced.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
although it's careful what you ask for kind of situation or how quick can something happen, faster is not always better.
Right.
I think obviously the main concern now is that now we're getting what we wanted, which was remove these from the shelves, but we're dealing with addiction.
Yeah.
And so removing these from the shelves is actually going to create a whole new problem, and it's going to happen fast. And that is, if I can't get that stuff and I am stuck, then I'm going to have to find some other stuff. And unfortunately, it's probably going to be fentanyl or other, stronger drugs. So we were talking about the idea of, again, and I've reached out to a few of the vape shop owners that I know, telling them, are you willing to post something saying, are you struggling with the recent, criminalization or removal of these products? Here are your resources. And I know me and Jared even talked about taking it even further and talking about support groups that are specific to 7-O because, at the end of the day, we've learned through, the years about prohibition or removing something, but you're not removing the problem. You're removing a lot of people's solutions. And we really got to address the problem. So I think that that's something to be aware of because I know when we talked that morning, the writing's on the wall that there will be a spike. And then my biggest concern, and I know the health department will agree, is if we are then going to switch from this to other street drugs, now the overdoses are going to go up again because these don't cause overdoses and those do. So it is, again, I'm grateful for this move, but I also think you can't do this move without another move and another move. It's a game of chess. And so I just kind of wanted to bring, obviously, that to everyone's attention because we've made, a 25% drop in overdose deaths. We've made so much progress. we could see that loss very quickly based on this. So just wanted to bring that up.
I want to bring in Dr. Holtzford, the clinical director at the Crisis Center in DuPage. Dr. Holtzford, we talk about this like once a week, I know. So
I
I'm sure you
know.
have thoughts.
I know. It's just coming at us like a freight train. And Mark, as usual, you hit the nail on the head. That's just, we're all worried about what this scheduling might do. And if all of a sudden it's not on the shelves, what the repercussions of that. So,
Yeah. What
just,
can I ask a question, Dr. Holtzford?
yeah,
Like in the folks as we've talked, I know that we've had quite a few people who are like seeking assistance at the crisis center for 7OH use.
yeah,
Are you finding that like are they having to get on like MAR or MAT? Like
yes.
is it that strong?
Yes, yes. And again, this has not been studied well, but anecdotally, podcasts and YouTube videos that are the new journals.
Sure.
We're treating it like a full-blown opioid with buprenorphine. The
Yeah.
doses of buprenorphine, generally speaking, are not as high as we use for fentanyl, but um, just an anecdote today. I take these Mar calls. I took a call today. A woman that kind of struggled with a Vicodin for a few years, so she's not a typical just 7-OH. But in an effort to stop taking Vicodin, she took 7-OH. Nothing. She's like, this is the worst stuff I've ever taken. She had taken it only for 6 weeks
Yeah.
and her withdrawal and tolerance was so bad. Thankfully, she found the Marnow number, but
Yeah.
I started on buprenorphine today. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And like Mark said, we may just end up having to create like our own work group for some of this stuff to like get messaging out. Scott, you want to come up? Because I was going to get into you next. Actually, this kind of dovetails into some Narcan talk. I'm going to bring up Scott Kaufman from the DuPage Health Department, who's got a pretty cool thing to show. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so I can get him on the screen with me. Scott, come on up. All right. Now, we have been fortunate enough to be partners in different capacities with harm reduction over the past few years, and we are now moving into the next phase of being able to offer Narcan to the community. So talk a little bit about what you got.
Yes. So, and I think that I need to preface this by saying that this is modeled very heavily after what is already a super, super successful program that Kane County Health Department is running. I see Sharon in the audience, Michelle.
Great job, Sharon.
Like they helped us. I think we're working with the same manufacturer that they work with on their boxes. So shout out to Kane. This is another great example of the Kane DuPage
There it is, the connection,
brotherhood.
baby.
Yeah.
So you can see Scott there at the top.
Yeah. So what we've got, these came in less than 24 hours ago to the health department. We have countertop naloxone distribution boxes. We
are awesome.
are super excited about them. They hold the new size, new
yeah.
naloxone product that the state is going to be providing
Let's
us.
talk about that for a second. Just
Yeah.
a very brief mention. This is the new naloxone from the States. It's a different size box, just so you know. Still holds 2 doses, right?
Everything else is the same.
Yeah.
It is just annoyingly a different shape and branding. And so
we will be retrofitting boxes near you any day now.
Oh, it's going to be such a fun project. But yeah, I mean, otherwise think of it as exactly the same as Narcan.
Yes.
And so we are looking to start distributing these to businesses.
Yes.
I mean, really focusing on businesses in a way that we hadn't before, that Kane County does a great job of. That, like in the past, our wall-mounted units are at like agencies and libraries and police departments.
It's tougher to get those in a like a business.
Totally. And understandably so. It's a lot easier to say, hey, are you interested in this a free countertop box for you to host? And I mean, we'll see how well the uptake is, how good that is.
Yeah.
But we're super excited about it. And if you have any businesses, send them my way.
Yes,
you can send them to dnp@dupagehealth.org or ask for my contact info. We would love to get these distributed far and wide.
And then last thing, you've got a survey, right, that you'd like to mention?
So
It's always survey time somewhere.
yes, yeah, and this summer is no different. The survey that we've got going on is we're calling it the Post Overdose Resource Feedback Survey. Such a snappy name.
Yeah.
And what we're looking to do with that is get really, really basic but crucial information from people that have had an overdose in the resources that they received, which of those that they received were helpful, and what do they wish that they had been given that they didn't get.
Okay.
So using all of that information, the ultimate goal is not to just collect that and then say, all right, the job well done, we surveyed. No, we want to get that information and then hopefully find a way to start spreading more of the helpful resources and adding the things that aren't currently offered in the community. We're trying to think big and trying to also keep it realistic at the same time, which is not easy. But like, we know that things like following up with someone after an overdose can have a massively positive outcome. And so we just want to see, like, if someone followed up with you a couple days afterwards, or followed up with your spouse a couple days after, like, what would be helpful to offer to them or to you? Like, is it transportation to treatment? Is it naloxone? Is it test strips? Like, what?
There's unique challenges.
Yeah, yeah. And we know that we won't get the same answer every time, but over the summer, I think through the end of September, we're going to run this survey. It's available virtually. ROSC, Jarrett and ROSC have kindly offered to create a beautiful flyer for this project, but we also have a paper version where people can fill out if they're in a situation where they can't or don't want to use the internet. And so by the end of the summer, hoping to get that feedback and compile it to start hopefully developing programs that address those things.
Great. So be on the lookout for that. We'll make sure we share that far and wide. The more feedback, the better. Anything else?
That's all I've got today.
So we're about hitting the end of our time. I don't want to be cognizant here. It is 4:03 now. Is there anybody, though? I want to make sure we did have time. If there are any updates, organizational updates, any programs that could use assistance, any collaborative needs, I'm going to give you this time now. And if not, I want to once again thank our friends at DuPage Probation and Problem Solving Courts. Bernadine and Kathy, thank you so much. And thank you for continuing to make sure we're diverting people. You guys do great work at that, and we love being here. Great location, and you're a great host. And we're going to try to make that dog fostering thing a reality this year, I promise. So thank you. So be on the lookout for the recording, share it far and wide, and then come see us on Zoom next Wednesday for the full-on vape shop report. We'll see you at the next one. Bye, everybody.